Is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call this August 4th, 2026 meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission meeting to order. First order of business will be a roll call. Start, Eleanor.
Present.
Jennifer.
Here.
Drew.
Here.
Barbara. You just need to speak. You are on mute, though, unfortunately.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. All right. Our agenda tonight is first item is DEP 313652 pack self-storage, which is being continued once again to August 18th at the applicant's request. I will not be present at the August 18th meeting, so Eleanor, I hope you'll be present.
Yes, I can be present.
So I think I will ask that you chair the meeting since
Okay.
I will be, where will I be at that point? We'll be in Scotland.
Whoa.
We're traveling with friends to a number of places in southern Scotland. So anyway, I will we'll move on to the next matter, which is RDA, request for determination of applicability at 60 Green Street from Steve and Veronica Farrell. And the specifics of this are the removal of an existing side porch and 240 square feet of bituminous concrete driveway and construction of a 24 by 27.2 foot addition within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. So that's the matter before us. Is there someone here to speak to that one? So there's no one here who can speak about this proposal.
I think it doesn't start, Paul, till 7:05.
All right,
So
that's our problem. So we're
we
ahead of.
can
Oh, sorry.
do the minutes.
Yeah, I guess we might as well deal with minutes from the last couple meetings now. We have Jennifer, you responded with comments to the last set of the minutes of July 21, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
And are there any concerns or questions with respect to Jennifer's edits to those minutes? Okay. Then I guess if there's no concerns or questions, we'll need a motion to approve those minutes.
I motion that we approve the minutes for 7/21 based on the edits by Jennifer Fanning.
Okay, thank you. And a second.
I'll
Drew?
second.
Thank you. All in favor? Eleanor,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and Barbara.
Yes.
The motion passes. I vote in favor as well. So those minutes are approved. And we will wait another minute before we move to the next agenda item. Okay, so the next agenda item is Steve and Veronica Farrell at 60 Green Street. Request for approval for construction of an addition with removal of a side porch, removal of 240 square feet of driveway, and construction of an addition within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. So I guess I'll ask again if there's anyone here to speak to that one. I see no one. We'll put that one aside then and see if we can move on to our next.
I see John here. I believe he's here with that one.
John, is 60 Green Street yours?
No, but we're the Vernon Street one.
123.
Okay.
I think you're on last week's agenda, Paul.
Am I really? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm looking at the July 21st because that's what I've reviewed for approvals. Yeah.
So
All right. I apologize for that.
This first one here is for an RDA at 123 Vernon Street. That was for the proposed detached ADU in their backyard,
Right.
and then behind their site is the paved rail trail, and then opposite that is the wetland.
Right. I reviewed that one this afternoon and went through those drawings and then ended up losing it to the wrong agenda. Apologies for that. Let's close that. Okay. So you guys are here, I presume, to speak to that then, John?
yes.
All right.
So
Go ahead and tell us what you want to tell us about that proposal.
we were just interested in my daughter and her daughter. We were looking to just make a small house in the backyard that they could live in, and we went up and spoke to the building department, and during the course of living here for so long, we realized that there's a wetlands in the back there, and we just wanted to, before we started any of the other parts of the process of applying for a building permit or even getting architectural plans or figuring out anything for the ADU, we wanted to check with conservation first to see if it would be allowed, since we have the wetlands back there. So that's
right. Yep. Okay. Ethan's brought up his your drawing and has shared his screen. So you're proposing to build it back towards does your property go all the way to the wetlands? I guess I'll first ask.
No,
you go to the railroad line or the abandoned?
Yeah, we go. Yeah, there's an old railroad right away there that's now taken over by, I think, National Grid back there for their power line, and we were just the proposed drawing is just shown with I have it drawn an 8-foot setback for I guess 7.5, but then there's a steep drop off of about 8-9 feet down to the top of the asphalt at the rail trail back there, and then beyond that there's another 5 or 6 foot drop to the on the other side of the rail trail, and then it maybe 30-40 feet back from there is the wetland limit, where you can see there's some tape and marking tape, and somebody had delineated it at some point. So those during rainstorms, so you can see the actual edge of the wetlands.
Mm-hmm. Is it basically is it a treed wetland, or is it mainly an open?
There's trees and marsh.
Okay, not mix of the two. Okay.
Yeah.
And so your ADU would be towards the back of your property.
Yep.
But within the setbacks that the town lays out.
Yes. Yes.
And you're not adding anything else in this proposal. You've
No.
done other work previously on the house, as I.
Yeah, we have done work years ago, but not,
Right.
since there is a shed back there, but it's not, into the ground. It's just
Right.
laying on block, so we can move that, no problem. But the other one was going to be, more of a permanent structure. So
Sure. And so that's going to be a little less than 800 square feet.
yeah,
Okay. Single story, I presume?
single story. That's the plan. There's a couple of plans that we were looking at. We came down to the building department and went over that with them, just show them that we were going to get a spec plan and maybe make a couple small interior wall revisions or, something like that. But the footprint would be exactly the same, one story. I think it's 783 feet, square feet.
And you'd run utilities from your house back out to this?
Yeah, that was the next phase of the thing is we were going to have to ask, engineering of, I assume the water and the electric would just be either upgraded in the main house and then run back to the ADU. And then the sewer and drain, we would probably have to get a macerating unit and with a pressure sewer up to either our existing sewer or a run into the street if that's required. If not, we would just pump it up into our existing line and have a gravity flow out to the street.
And that's something that town engineering can help you with.
Yeah, all that stuff.
That's not something we have to opine
Yeah,
on.
we haven't got into that far into it just because we didn't want to do anything until we address this issue, and then we would, move on to the next steps if it's allowed.
Okay. And your property drops
Significantly.
off to from where the ADU is going to sit. It drops to the rail trail and then drops further down to the wetland.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I can measure it for you if you want by taking a couple shots, but there's at least a 10-foot difference between the edge of the wetland and the back of our lot.
Okay.
Yeah, we would still need to get. I have this surveyed, and then we would have to get, hire somebody to do a plot plan or a plan with topo and things like that for the for the building department before just for drainage and all that other stuff to make while we do a more formal plan if things go ahead with the building department.
Mhm. Okay, so looking at your dimensions, it looks like you're just over 90 feet from the building to the edge of the wetland. Is that?
Yeah, I used a couple of different scales, just GIS. We went to two different sites. One I think had it at 78 feet, and the other one had it at 88 feet, depending on where you grab the line. And there's just I would have to suit up in some kind of either Tyvek or something like that to get back there to get a actual measurement. But by eye, it looks about to be that much. So it's, I think the right of way back there is 25 feet, and there's another 10 or so, 15 feet maybe from the edge of our edge of the asphalt of the right of way there for the old railroad easement, and then it's at least 30 or 40 feet out from the other side of the other side of the hot top rail trail. So.
And your decision on where to put the building, you're just trying to get as far away from your house as possible to provide.
Yeah, just to maximize the backyard. So, just looking for some area for the granddaughter to play back there and things like that. So, if we just for a little bit more room.
Okay. I don't have other questions, but I'll open it to my colleagues.
So I guess I have a question. So the ADU setback is 7.5 feet.
Yes.
from the property line. And then do you know, like, because you'll be awfully, is this gonna, sorry, the bike trail running
Yes.
behind your house? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you know what kind of vegetation is back there?
On the other side of the rail trail?
No, between this proposed, I guess the back of your backyard against the rail trail.
Nothing. It's just um, yeah, it's just a grade with there's some leaves and stuff like that on. There's no real growth on it. It's just it just drops off.
Okay, so like no knotweed, no oriental
No.
bittersweet, no.
Nope.
And
There is further down the rail trail going towards Salem Street. There's not weed and things like that on the once you jump over Fitch Court and down towards Salem Street, but not on this side.
my only thought, I'm not a building person. I would think they would need more space to get around to, to be able to build the building. I didn't realize they could work
Well,
with equipment so close.
I'm planning on building it myself.
Oh, okay.
So and I was planning on using a pier foundation, dependent on the building department allowing that, and in that way I wouldn't need much more than a auger, or either that or I'll hand dig the holes. So I wouldn't need much equipment back there.
So it'd be like sonotubes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh.
Just one at each corner, presumably.
No, there would be a lot of them.
Would there? Okay.
I would just need to,
You'd need
depending
to-
on what the spans are and things, I would need
Okay.
one to support the middle beam, and then perimeter piers as well.
Okay. All right. So there'd be a bunch of holes. You'd
Yeah,
have-
probably
Four.
12. We haven't done the like I said, we haven't gone too much further with that, but there's probably be at least 12.
You're somewhat early days and wanting to make sure this is going to work.
Exactly. Yes.
Understandable.
Yep.
And is this by right? Like I forget what the limit is. Is it 900 square feet? So you don't.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to. I guess that's the limit for the ADUs. So we found one that we liked that was seems to fit in with the property, and is relatively easy to build and not too just a single story, so it's not popping up too high, and it fit this footprint, and it fits all the space requirements and everything else. So it just seemed like a good option. So if for that size, and then we stay under the 900-foot limit with it. Without, it gives us some wiggle room in case anything changes or has to be altered or anything like that with the building department. So
Are there any trees that will be cut?
I didn't hear that. What?
Are there any trees that will be cut?
On we wouldn't need to cut any trees to do it, but we were planning on cutting just a couple of trees on our lot, just for I just didn't want to have the branches from, there's a existing maple tree that's on our lot that we would consider cutting down, just because it would overhang the roof of the ADU. And then there was another tree on the right side that we would need to probably remove for to extend the driveway a little bit past the existing house for parking for the my daughter in the ADU.
So you're going to run the driveway between the house and the existing shed on the right-hand side of the lot?
That we'll remove that shed and
Excellent.
maybe move it to the opposite side, or the left-hand side, or get rid of it.
Okay. And then the drive will go back.
Not all the way back. It would just go like maybe to where the shed is.
Okay.
I had a question about the roof.
Yep.
it's a single story. What kind of roof
Just a
did you plan?
Just a single pitched 612 pitch roof with one ridge from side to side, and then it just sheets back.
And the water runoff, you don't expect to be a high amount, right?
I can catch it with gutters and run it back into the. I could put something down if you want me to store it on site, and infiltrators or something like that to store it if you want. But it would just be the same amount of rain that would fall back there anyway. So.
Well, I was thinking of the slope and the fact that nothing is planted there to protect the slope, and just thinking of runoff. I guess that's not an issue.
I can put a gutter in the back and run it to the front if that's required.
That might actually solve the issue.
Sure.
Ethan, have you visited the site?
I have not. I did see some pictures, and then I saw the view online from the trail, but I did not get on site. Just given the distance, I didn't see a need to.
I haven't seen the view. You say there's a view online from the rail trail towards the.
I think from the Google Street View, they had a view from the trail.
Oh, really? I didn't find that one. I have the Google Street View from the front, but that's about the only thing I've gotten.
I have the mass mapper up if you want to see it.
Sure. If you could share it, Eleanor, that'd be helpful.
Yeah. So this is one. I'm not actually sharing yet. Let me know when you see it.
It's up.
Okay. I'm gonna just lighten this so we can see it. So here's 123. This is the closest wetland. This larger blue area is FEMA flood
area.
This is the existing home. I was trying to measure the distance to the wetland. I'm having my thing's not precise, but it's definitely over 80 feet, 80, 90 feet. So and then this is the rail trail, I guess.
Right. And so the topography is that the lot is relatively level, slopes down to the rail trail, and then slopes down again to the wetland.
Yeah. So I don't see issues. The only thing I would recommend, kind of like Barbara, is having some sort of drainage done to ensure that the roof runoff remains on the property and isn't just, discharging downhill.
Yeah, that would make sense to me as well.
Yeah, there's a loose block retaining wall and like a mulch bed in the back, raised, and so even it wouldn't run off into the back anyway. But if it's needed, I can just pipe. I can even put a storage tank underground and hold the water, or I can just direct it towards I can just sister the gutters so it comes out to the the side close to Vernon Street, if that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to do anything crazy. I think having gutters that direct it, that kind of keep it on the property.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we don't want to see, a gully developing as a result of the runoff.
Yeah, it's just with I don't think that would happen, but just because there's a oak tree back there, and like I said, it's raised from the backyard grade is probably maybe a foot and a half lower than the top of the wall dirt. So and there's 7.5 feet of that dirt there to hold, to hold everything in the lot. But again, I can just run the gutters out to the on the back side of the house. I could just run them back into the yard, no problem at all.
Seems like that would be something we'd want to put in the conditions, Ethan.
Yep. I do have a couple pictures here.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
can
it'd be
share the
helpful to
screen.
see that. Here, I'll stop sharing.
It was just these two, the view from that trail with this house to the right in this picture.
Okay, and the property we're talking about is further along the rail trail, or basically where you're standing?
You can see that fence on the right-hand side. That's our fence
Oh, okay.
on the up on top of the hill there, and then it comes, like I said, it comes down, and then
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
The wetlands on the left here.
right.
Or
Property
further
drops
to the
down
left.
again
Yep,
from the rail trail to the
drops
wetland.
down a lot. Yep. But I can take another picture and show you the back with the wall. So, to put your mind at ease that even, water that just drops in the area, it doesn't get back there. But again, like I said, I'll be happy to run the drain from the roof to the front of the house, so it doesn't. There's no chance of it going out the back.
Does it make sense, folks, to want to do a site visit here? Eleanor?
I'd kind of like to. It is far away. Part of me wonders if it's, I think we can safely say we can go an RDA route, and we would probably just include some minimal conditions like erosion controls, John, and making sure roof runoff is not directed to another property. Um, but I guess what I'm sort of wondering is how, given this is so preliminary and you have to go through the other boards, usually, or I don't know, usually when things come to us, they're a little bit more,
Yeah, I just knew,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to go through the process of buying the plans, going to the building department, and then getting everything ready to go. And then I figured instead of going to Concom last, I would go first. And,
Building department did see the preliminary plans and liked it.
I appreciate that.
yeah, so I just didn't want to go way, too far down the road and then find out that, it was a no-go with conservation. So I figured we'd just start this way first, and then if it was a no-go, we wouldn't spend any more time and effort on it. But if it's that's our mindset. We just wanted to follow the this trail first, and then go from there if if it was good. But I still don't know what they're all going to say. So I just like I said, I just wanted to start with this process first, and then take it from there if it's okay to move ahead.
Yeah.
Do
I
you
think-
do you have an access from your property to the rail trail? If you want to take a walk in the evening, can you just walk?
Our next door neighbor has a gate, and then if we need to get down there, we can just go down to Fitch Court and just walk down. There's an opening right down at the Dunright Landscaping and the chemical company down there at the end of Fitch Court. So if we do go down there, we typically go down that street, and then it opens you to both sides of the rail trail.
Okay.
I would agree with Eleanor that I don't see any particularly big. I don't see any showstoppers from our perspective here.
It's great.
Are those, how tall are those trees at the back? Just curious.
Tall, probably, I don't know, 50, 60 feet probably.
Okay.
And the ones you're proposing to remove are further into your yard, I presume?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, there's a oak tree that's like back there that is none of the trees really are in the way of building anything. But I don't know if once, if we are able to go ahead and I don't know that we wouldn't be looking to take the oak tree down back there, but I'm not sure how healthy it is anyway, but it's that's the only one that we would probably be looking to remove later on down the road if we didn't, if it turns out that it was too close to the house. But
So I guess the question for folks is, do we want to do a site visit? And if so, does this Saturday work?
I'm away, but if anybody else wants to do a site visit, I'm okay relying on your judgment.
Believe I'm busy from 8 to 5.
Okay,
So smack dab in the middle of the day.
right. I mean, we could do it on a weeknight as well, and it's still light enough right now to do a site visit. So if we wanted to do it after work for folks, we could do it before that or sometime early the following week.
and anytime anybody's free, if they want, they could just go right back there and take a look. Or like I said, you can go down Fitch Court and go down get right on the rail trail from that way if you want. Either way, so there's a gate right there. You can just go right through the gate. No dog or anything in the back to worry about. So you can just go back and take a look if you like.
Well, given everybody's schedule, that might be the best solution. What do you think, Paul?
Sure.
We can do that. The one thing I would ask John is if you put a couple stakes in roughly where you're proposing to put the structure.
Yeah, we do have them in there.
See that?
Yeah, we have them there. Yeah.
You have them there. Okay, fine. So we'd come in from Fitch Court and
Well,
walk.
you wouldn't be able to get on the lot from Fitch Court and without climbing the hill there. But
Okay, so we come directly to your house.
yeah,
and-
if you wanted to see the topo of and the conditions in the backyard, you'd have to come from the street. But if you wanted to see the elevation difference and what's going on back at the rail trail, it'd probably be best to come in from Fitch Court.
I think our primary interest is seeing your property, how the site lays out, and then we
Sure.
can see from the edge.
Yeah, you can see the wetland
Yeah.
flag from the backyards.
Yeah. Rather than all of us just kind of dribbling through, it might be best if we try to coordinate it one or two times for visits. Drew, how are you only unavailable Saturday? Are other evenings possible? And Eleanor, what about you?
Yeah, I work Tuesdays through Saturdays now.
Okay,
Weekdays till 6 and then Saturdays till 5.
okay,
I'm
Well-
available Saturday. If that makes any difference.
okay. You're
I'm
away Saturday
I'm available, I think Thursday or Friday
this week.
evening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Friday
Yeah.
would be great for us. Thursday or Friday.
Sorry?
Thursday or Friday would be better for us.
Okay.
If you want us there.
If you need us there.
Well, I think it's
Let
best
you
if you're
into the
there
back.
when we come onto your property.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Probably works better if you can answer questions from us.
Yeah, my wife watches my granddaughter on Monday through Thursday, and she doesn't not on Friday. So and I get home usually around 3:00. So anytime after 3:00, I work early till 3:00. So anytime after that, I'll be home if she's if she's busy. So
Eleanor, for my recollection is for you, 6 or 6:30 would be preferable.
Yeah, probably closer to 7, but I can catch the
Okay.
early train and
Yeah,
make it
Jennifer,
6:30.
same for you?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Um,
I could suggest perhaps, do we have to do this sequential stuff again?
I would do it between 6:30 and 7, and if two of us have to hang back for 10 minutes,
That's fine. Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
this is going to take a long time.
yeah.
So let's plan for 6:30 meeting at the site on Thursday. If that works.
yep.
Sure, that's
And
great.
you'll probably have a couple of us at a time because
Yeah, that's fine.
we have some open meeting law issues that we need to resolve.
That's fine.
Okay. So we'll plan for this Thursday. Um,
Oh, and okay, on the 6th.
the 6th.
Okay.
Does that work for all?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And we're aiming for 6:30 to 7:15 kind of time frame for people to come and go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
John.
much.
Thank
See
Thank
you
you.
on
Thank you so
Thursday.
much.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.
Okay. And
Yeah, they're out yet.
all right. Okay, so we've dealt with what I'm missing is my agenda, which seems to have vanished again.
The next item on the agenda is DEP 313658, Ronnie Mendez, 131 Montrose Ave.
Okay, thank you, Eleanor. I'm not sure what is happening with my machine tonight, but
It's a struggle to find everything with all the tabs.
yeah. I believe Paul Finocchio has been working that project.
I'm here.
Hello, Paul.
How you doing? I don't know what happened to my video.
Well, we can hear you.
You can hear me, but it says it's supposed to be on, but
Some of us saw the property.
yes. Well, we had two visits.
Okay.
So we had you were there, and then the second group was there, Ethan and another member, and we went over basically the same thing we had talked about was the location of the leaching field, which is marked out in the layout of the building. And then we talked about that the arborvitaes that are located behind the existing garage, that's going to be garages coming down, that we would try and relocate those over to that area that's sort of a barren area off to the, which would be, if you look from the street, would be to the right side of the proposed addition. And that I also talked to the homeowner developer, and he is amenable to picking up the Japanese knotweed and some of the other invasive species that are in that general area of the building on that side slope.
Sounds like that addresses the concerns we discussed while we were on the site.
Yes.
Any folks have other questions or concerns?
I just had a quick question, Paul. We were so focused on the backyard. Do you have a diagram of how you would, again, I guess from the street, looking into the property?
There is on the site plan that shows the driveway
Okay.
coming in.
Okay.
So that existing garage would come in, the the opening would stay the same.
Hmm.
And then once we get past that tree, it would flare out and head in towards the existing house.
Got it. Okay. Yep, that's helpful. Thank you.
Other questions? Doesn't sound like we have a lot of concerns about this one. Was this? This is an NOI, so basically at this point, given that it's an NOI, we need to just come to ground with an approval
Order.
and an order, authorize an order to that Ethan will draft. Do folks have other concerns that we need to include in that order than what we've already discussed and that Paul outlined?
I think from last time, this came up in the last meeting, the having snow storage be directed to, I think, the left-hand side of the property from the street. I think
Going
that
out
was,
behind the existing, the house towards the wetlands that are at the back of the property. Is that what
I
you're
think,
aiming
I
for?
think when we talked about it last time, I think the conclusion was that it could be put to the left of the house if you're facing the house.
If you're sitting at the house and where the proposed addition is going, that snow will be pushed to the left towards the front of the existing house. So there would be no snow storage going towards the right, towards the wetlands area. And then on the other side where the existing driveway is, that would just be, as it's always been plowed, I guess, pushed off to the left-hand, towards the left-hand lot line. So you'd have um, driveway that comes in on the lower side to the addition, that'll be plowed out towards the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the left-hand side, that existing driveway, I believe, probably gets plowed off to the left between the driveway and the property line.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So in any case, it wouldn't be plowed towards the wetland.
Correct. You'd be plowing, everything would be pushed away from the wetlands.
Okay.
I put it up on screen so you
Yeah.
could
Can
see
you
it.
zoom it one step
Sure.
larger?
Let me see if oops.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how to drag it. Hang on a second.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And I think the other thing we talked about in the last meeting that I took a note on was kind of the plan to use the topsoil, pick it up, put it back down.
Yes, we could use we're stripping for the footing. We can use that material for the area that was sort of that unvegetated area between the house and the wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also that piece of asphalt, so we can pull that out and put in some stabilization using the topsoil from the footprint of the addition.
Yeah, right. So you don't expect to need to bring in any fill? You're not expecting to fill with like outside fill?
No, we don't have to fill.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
presume you're going to have a bunch of concrete to dispose of from that existing
So there'll be the concrete slab and the
slab that's there.
structure that'll be all trucked out off-site.
Mhm. But then the soil below to be stripped and stockpiled to be added. Okay.
So I was trying to think of this in context of our proposed wetlands bylaw, which of course doesn't apply right now. But if it did, I still wouldn't see issues because we have, like, even though it's closer than 25-foot no disturb, if the 19 feet, it's existing lawn,
Mhm.
right? Existing yard, so that's grandfathered in. The applicant is making improvements through the drainage infiltration and, containing runoff. And then it sounds like the applicant is also amenable to, revegetating this part that's quite barren
Mhm.
with existing vegetation. So I think at least the way I'm interpreting our bylaw, I know we'll discuss it later. This would be the same, really.
Yeah, I think you're right, Eleanor. When I went back and looked at it and thought about it, other than the 6 feet of difference in terms of the proximity of disturbance,
Mhm.
um, otherwise we're getting what we'd like. And the drainage infiltration field. Paul, that's going to pick up not only the additional garage, but also the existing house.
It'll probably pick up a portion of the existing house on the roof pitch, yes.
Yes. Okay. I thought that's what we discussed at the site was
Yes.
the rear of the house to the extent it's draining back that way will also get picked up.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, the closest point is the corner,
Right.
so you have some distance here.
Yep.
Yes,
And we're keeping that huge, gorgeous tree. So
that's not coming. It's actually a street tree, so we're not touching it.
okay, good.
Okay.
Ethan, does it make sense for you? Like, I don't know if we want to do it now, if you want to write some orders of condition during this meeting. Like, what's your preference to
I
doing
wouldn't
that
be able
officially?
to I wouldn't be able to draft the order during the meeting, but you can either vote to issue it, or you can just have me draft it and then vote to issue it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Paul, what's best for you and your client, I guess, in that question?
That's fine.
If we continue for another 2 weeks and bring it back on the 18th, that would work.
I guess, yeah, it would work that way. You can have everything written up. He can get it out to you beforehand, and you can review it
Okay.
and approve it that night in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Once we get it, we're just going to record it and go from there.
Okay. Then I think I'd say that's probably a good solution. Ethan, I'd ask you to have it out as early as possible because I will be disappearing I guess I head off on the 12th. I can take a look at things on my phone, but I'm not planning on carrying my laptop. So phone or tablet is about as good as I'll be able to work from while I'm
Good.
traveling.
I should have it out tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Do we need to make a motion to close? This is where I get a little confused, Ethan. Close the hearing, open it up. I don't see any members of the public.
If you wanted to continue the hearing, you just need permission from the applicant. I'd recommend continuing it because once you close the hearing, that's when the deadline starts to issue the
Right.
order. So
Thank you.
as long as the applicant's okay with continuing it, that's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, that's fine. You can continue to the following hearing, and we'll have the order of conditions at that meeting. Be perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Ethan.
So we'll continue this to the meeting of August 18th. and take it up then with the expectation we'll be issuing an order at that point. Based on drafting from Ethan that we'll see between now and preferably the end of the week. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, take care. Have a good
you.
night.
Good night. Okay. That takes care of our two public hearings for the night. The next is DEP 313-657 11 King Street, which is the proposed addition of artificial turf in the back of the property around the around the swimming pool. I don't see the attraction myself, but
Yep. So we had talked about this last meeting, and then I sent
Right.
around those materials we received.
right.
It's just taking a look at those and then making a decision. So, based on what we received, it doesn't seem that either chemicals or drainage would be an issue, just based on the information they provided. So, that was relatively far from the wetland, about 50 feet, and then next to the pool and patio that had been approved as well. So personally, I don't see an issue with it, if that's just what they want to do for the yard, from a wetlands perspective. So that's just my thought.
Can I ask a question about runoff capture? I know he said there are layers, there's, it rains and it comes down, it just falls into whatever netting. I don't know what kind of a base there is underneath that I can quite understand. But as I understand the turf, the nature of turf, as it does rain and it is used, people stand on it or play ball or whatever they do, particles are leached. And so I just wondered if it would clog the field, how long that would take to do that. It's a small piece of turf, basically. It's not a whole field. That was my question, really.
From what I see, I wouldn't expect it to be any different from like a grass lawn, where you might have, after a lot of repeated use, just kind of compaction that affects the drainage. But I think overall, there's plenty of space there that won't be compacted, that'll kind of offset anything that does kind of get blocked up. So
The rest of the lawn in the area will remain in lawn. Is that correct?
There's a,
yep. Besides the patio, it'll just be
There's a
the
paved
grass
patio
lawn.
which we previously authorized, as I remember. Thanks.
Can make it bigger.
Yeah, can you zoom that a little bit more?
Yes.
So essentially what we're talking about is authorized.
Sorry.
Okay. I think it's
Up a page.
up a page. Yeah, exactly. There you are.
Oh yeah, here we go.
and the grass that will be, so some of it will be replaced with patio and red, and then part of it to the left of the patio, and I think above the patio. I think that's where the turf is proposed.
So it looks like they're replacing lawn. I think that's what he explained, that he didn't want to use chemicals and fertilizer on the lawn. And then, so that would become, actually, I don't know if I can share both things at once. That would become the AstroTurf.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Looking at this drawing, we don't really get a good indication of where the AstroTurf is.
Well, this is the original NOI, and this was going to stay
Right,
grass.
right.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
Um,
essentially
basically,
from the red line on the bottom left of the patio, and then just
to the
anywhere
back
left
and
and
to the
up from the
stockade
patio.
fence and all the way out to the property boundary?
Yes, if you just go straight left and straight up from the patio, almost like a 90-degree angle,
Hmm.
until you reach the property lines, that's where it'll be turf.
Here, let me, I'll share again. Let's have it up. Sorry, I'm trying to share Ethan. Maybe hang on.
I
There
can
you go.
share that
Okay,
turf.
this one.
So that's the yellow is the area proposed to be AstroTurf now.
Yes. And I think the whole thing is closed in fence over here, like
Right.
here. So it's an additional, what is that, 11? So they're not converting impervious to pervious. They're going from grass to AstroTurf. So the question is, you know, um, and it's outside the 50 feet, most of it, all but this part. Are we okay with that, or are there concerns that I guess it could impact the wetland?
So my concerns are about microplastics, nanoplastics from the
Oops.
degradation. I mean, this has I think last time it was discussed as an 8-year warranty. It's not something that's going to last forever.
Oops. I don't know how that happened.
That's okay. That's
The slideshow.
actually would
So
appear that you're
there's physical material. The physical material is composed of chemicals, petroleum-based chemicals. I looked up some of the chemicals that are, comprise this particular product. It does appear that they interfere with, plant growth through root systems. And I do want to point out, even though it's at a distance, this is an elevated area. It's a pervious surface. The water will go through it, become part of groundwater, where it can travel some distance, carrying chemicals and debris. And then, once it's in a wetland that's a water system, I mean, the water in a wetland comes from the groundwater. So it's not like it just kind of goes down forever. It becomes part of the underground water system that can then become sort of above ground elsewhere and impact, plant roots. And it's a very large wetland, and this property is perhaps, I don't know, looking at a map, like 1%. And, but the impacts are potentially on the whole system, because once it's in the water, it can travel much further. So, those are my concerns about it. And I am, I think, reluctant to say there's no chemicals, because then when someone comes before us and they want to do like a giant football field of this, are we going to say there's no chemicals? There's
well,
definitely
and
chemicals
I
in
think
it.
the information you submitted, Jennifer, does indicate that the AstroTurf materials, which are plastics, do break down, and you end up with uh, microplastic contamination of the soil. And I would guess microplastics move into the groundwater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's an issue we hadn't really spent a lot of time looking at previously, but
There's also a heat factor.
yeah,
I don't know how much tree coverage there is there, having not been to the site, but
I don't remember tree coverage back here.
Usually you want to keep the leaves out of the pool, so you don't have trees around your pool.
Right.
Um,
Right. 'Cause I remember walking this site back when it was just simply a proposed pool and pool apron and all the rest. And we got comfortable with that. But
I think the temperature may not be an issue, but Jennifer, you said it was 8 to 10 year lifespan.
I mean, I've seen different things. I think 8 years was what was said in the last meeting. But I mean, these have a limited lifespan, in which they will hold up.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Is there any calculation of a percentage of microplastics per square footage of this? Because Caltech chambers are also plastic, and those are permitted everywhere, and they're underground.
what are those, Judy?
Caltech chambers for stormwater.
Mm-hmm.
Those are plastic.
Right.
So wouldn't that be the same concern?
Well, the biggest
I mean,
difference is they're underground.
Right, but I would think
And
that
the exposure of, especially something that's essentially thin strips of plastic in sunlight all the time, you're going to get much faster breakdown than you will for a Caltech chamber underground.
right, but is there a calculation that can quantify what that is based on where this is a small area?
Yeah,
I mean, especially when you weigh it with, if you're not going to use any kind of herbicides, pesticides on the lawn, a gas mower, things like that.
mhm.
What's the risk ratio?
Well, there's also, bioaccumulation, and I think kind of the physical characteristics of, it being, thin, plastic material versus a larger one. But I mean, there's concerns about the larger ones too, and the chemicals that are in them.
Right, but based on the size of this area, is there a calculation that you can say, based on the research, this is the average breakdown that it would be in the actual infiltration, so that there's something you can quantify when you're making a decision? Rather than just, I mean, I understand the microplastics leach into it, I get that. But at what rate and over what amount of time, what is really the risk?
I mean, I've thought about, for these proposals that are sort of, kind of asking us to, or saying kind of, well, you don't know, you can't quantify it exactly. Maybe we should be making that a condition, like do a yearly measurement. So that we actually have data, so that we don't have to be kind of guessing as to these things. But these chemicals do, bioaccumulate, and I think they were talking about something that would be there for, again, 8 years, 10 years, and presumably replaced with the same thing.
So you think there's a greater risk with the turf than if they used like a lawn treatment service, herbicides, pesticides on a regular basis?
I can't say that, but I do know for a fact that, this product had some PFAS testing, and but they don't test for every single chemical that's in it. So, it's sort of, I think you're kind of asking for information that I think realistically is not attainable, but I think from what we do know that's in the material, I think we
Right,
can
but
make
that's
some reasonable.
what I'm kind of leaning towards is you're making a decision based on, it seems like, larger scale studies, turf fields that have the rubber pellets in it that heat up ridiculously hot, things like that. That's why I'm wondering
I
in
think
this small area.
this.
I understand, but work was allowed close to the wetland for the pool. So it just seems, I'm just trying to make sense of how this is an egregious enough not to approve it.
I'm not sure
I
to
don't know
call it
that we've
egregious.
just,
I'd say it's cumulative, it's adding cumulative issues to the site. Drew, you had something you were going to add.
Me?
Yeah, did I hear you start this speak?
No, no, I was on mute.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's definitely it mhm. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, what are we're approving an amended like
An amendment to the order
okay.
that we
well,
issued. We issued an order allowing the construction of a pool, which
Yep.
had this concrete apron around it. The concrete apron shown in the pink
Yep.
on the drawing. Um, and then the AstroTurf would add another 11 feet by, I don't actually see a dimension.
it looks like,
It's
y-
not dimensioned nor vertically on
it,
the drawing.
it, it looks like 12, let's say times 2, 24 plus 7.5. Oh no, a little bit less. There's an apron. Did they give us square footage for that change? No.
I don't think so. Looks like 100 to 150 about.
But I think they wanted us to just approve it as a minor modification, right? So we
Mm.
can't, versus an amended order, I think you can put additional conditions on it. And is is that right, Ethan?
Yeah, so it's just like an unofficial request to see if they could do it. It wasn't a request to amend the order.
Okay.
I, I'm, I mean, part of me, um, I see where Judy is. I mean, I wouldn't use chemicals on my lawn where my kids are going barefoot. There's a lot of stuff about that. Um, I'm not sure I want to expose them to microplastics either. So which is the worst thing? Um, I'm kind of surprised they didn't come back to us and ask if they could extend patio. Um, I don't know how people that may not be something they want. Um,
I think that was something they were looking at, um, just at one of the options. But I think they were looking at the drainage, thinking that turf would be preferred for the drainage. Um, but it just has more use than a patio would.
the turf would
Artificial
have more
turf. I mean,
artificial.
natural
You could
turf would
use,
be ideal for the drainage.
yeah, yeah, you could use it as a lawn, but also use it as a cleaner area around the pool instead of sitting in like the grass and the dirt. It was just kind of the middle ground that they settled on.
Yeah. It is kind of difficult to keep a pool clean when you have the grass so close to it.
And if this was a patio, if this was completely outside of the 50-foot buffer, it would pretty much like be exempt. So like from what I'm looking at, that's my point of reference for like the low impact nature as far as the surface area.
Well, you could suggest that to them, Ethan.
Are we setting a precedent for residential homeowners, so, for turf or, AstroTurf? In allowing this, have we had other cases where we've ruled on that, the efficacy of doing that versus what I call, just regular grass sod? And again, you don't have to put chemicals all over the sod. There are organic products that you can use to make your grass happy.
I haven't seen another case like this, at least recently. But you would really just want to be reviewing each site independently. So it's all being regulated by the same standards. There's too many factors that go into it for someone to just say, well, if you approve this one, why can't you approve ours? We'd be able to make a decision case by case.
Yeah, I mean, it's case by case and it doesn't formally set a precedent, but I think we also want to be kind of as consistent as we can be. So I don't think we want to be saying yes to this and say it's fine, and then we have a bunch more and we say, oh no, wait, maybe it's not fine. I mean, it's either doesn't have an impact or it does. But I do think if applicants are going to sort of make arguments that, well, you don't have the data, then I think we should ask people to collect data because that would help us to make better decisions.
I did end up finding it looks like the town of Arlington actually had an artificial turf study committee do a report in 2024. And they have a whole, what is that, 34-page PDF file of the impacts of using artificial turf. It doesn't necessarily say if it's large scale or small scale. I could only assume it's, maybe they did it. Maybe they were redoing a school or something, and that came up of whether or not using artificial turf, was okay.
The studies that I saw referenced, and this is, not necessarily comprehensive kind of review of the literature, but were laboratory-based experimental studies where they specifically expose plants in solution to certain amounts of chemicals, and that's how they know the chemicals have an impact, ruling out other possible influences. So the comparison, at least that I saw, was like, experimental research, which is, is really kind of the best for drawing cause and effect conclusions between these chemicals and their effects, but aren't field studies.
I think the nuance here too is once an order of conditions is approved, the commission doesn't have to, you know what I mean? Like it's our purview whether we want to grant an amended order or treat something as a minor modification, which is not really a technical DEP thing.
Right.
So, that's another avenue. Say, can you please do a little more research? Would you come back with an RDA or an amended request? It's not ideal,
Feels to
but
me that's the direction we're going, frankly.
yeah.
It seems to me that we sort of have all the information now, so just wondering what the difference would be with this request versus like an RDA. I'm not sure we'll be able to get any more precise information than what we have here.
We can't add any conditions to this, so we'd be approving additional work. They've got to pull up the sod, they've got to lay down the sand and everything, and that's another area where it just feels like, are we treating all applicants the same? Because this isn't just a minor, oh, let me move we've had others come to us with an amended order to move their steps or bump out their house by 2 feet. And this is a change that's about the same size of what there are, kind of doubles the area that's
The area of
impacted.
impact, yes.
Yeah.
You're right, Eleanor, it does.
So I don't think just slipping it in is like if it were, we could look at this and say, oh, they're definitely making this is a better solution, and we could all sort of agree to that. I I think it's unclear whether this is, better than their existing plan. Um, and it is a lot more involved, and it was not part of the original order of conditions. It is outside the 50 feet. So again, it's not like we're denying something because we don't have to entertain like we're not under any obligation to entertain a change. At this point.
Yeah, so just for clarification, because I'm still new to all this, if this was originally proposed from a standpoint of following DEP, it would have to be approved. And the only reason why we can vote on it now is because it's a change to the original order.
It wouldn't have to be approved. It would just be reviewed by you guys, like with the notice of intent. If that's what you mean.
If it was in the original plans.
Yeah, you
Would
could
not
still.
have to be approved if they'd presented it to us initially. We could have made it inserted conditions.
You just need a reason. If you did deny it, you would need a reason and need a standard to point to as far as why you denied it.
Correct. So they could, if they're doing work outside of the 50, they could come back for an RDA, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just for, consistency standpoint, I have a hard time treating something as a minor modification when you're expanding, you're doubling the size of what you proposed. And yes, it's permeable, but it's like even if you think of the wetland standards, we do want to review things that aren't, converting lawn to native plantings or things like that. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. But Ethan, correct me if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, it's just up to whatever you want to decide.
It's
So
currently sod.
Yes.
They're actually probably going to have to tear it, like it'll get torn up, right? Or not so much. I forget the construction sequencing.
Well, they're going to be putting in the pool, and then they're going to be putting down a concrete apron around the edge of the pool.
Mhm.
So there will be probably some of the area is going to get torn up by the construction activity, I'm guessing. Well, I don't know how much. The drawing basically shows what it's going to look like when it's finished. It doesn't really show what the impact area would be during construction.
Well, it looks like if they're going to be digging a pool, they're going to have to bring equipment on the left-hand side, which would pretty much trash the sod that's existing now.
That's right.
I've watched people build pools. And those earth movers are large.
I think if I remember, Barbara, this might have been before you joined. There was like an access. Am I still sharing my screen? Can you see that? There was sort
yes.
of a town access road or something, some little easement here that was paved, and they were planning to remove the existing fence, and the construction vehicles could enter through here. I think there was kind of a retaining wall, if I remember. Is that right, Ethan? Like to the
I
between
think that is more of a fence there.
a fence. Oh, you're right. It was a fence.
Yeah, it's pretty flat, or at least smooth
Felt like it
transition
sloped
from the
down.
road up
Okay.
top. Yeah.
Thanks for explaining. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I, and Ethan, just curious, what's the were they open to an RDA? Because there's no filing fees with that.
This is just what they had requested. There would be the public hearing fee with the RDA. I think they were looking to just more so because the first patio got approved, assuming they could just expand it, going further from the wetland. I think they were just looking at it as a small project that wouldn't exactly need an RDA, but we can always suggest that if that's what we want.
Ethan, did you think they made a good case for the turf? Because they sent all the information about how it's composed and the layers and the grid and the whole, we have all that documented. What more could we ask them to provide for us to make a decision in RDA?
I don't think there's anything more that can be provided. They had the PFAS testing, but when we're talking about like microplastics and things of that nature, I think there's just no way to get information, unless and until it impacts the wetland. We would just have to go based off an assumption. And I think it's just a little too complicated to have like an exact answer on it. So I think either way, we would just be making a decision based on an assumption or based on, something similar that we've seen before. But yeah, when getting into the microplastics, we're not going to have a clear answer on that.
Right. It is in breast milk, like of every woman. So it is.
Microplastics are.
What's that?
You said microplastics are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we're all carrying them around in our bodies right now.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the issue. And it's really a question of how much more do we want to allow to
Yeah.
be added to the environment?
But no, to Judy's point, pesticides and herbicides are not great either.
No, that's true.
And I definitely have a bias against them just from, family that live in the heartland. And you meet a lot of people in a small town at the same party with some kind of bizarre thyroid cancer or some cancer, this, that, whatever.
Mhm.
It's
As a result of chemical exposures.
yeah, there's
Historic
big
chemical
agricultural
exposure.
area. There's
Right.
an army base,
Right.
so it could be two.
Yeah, I mean, I do also want to point out, so there's something like 15,000 PFAS chemicals and only a small fraction of them can be tested. So even though this, material is saying we don't detect PFAS, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have PFAS because it's not possible to test for all of them. So,
Well, we could simply say to them that if they really want to do this with AstroTurf as opposed to putting down turf, they need to come back to us for an RDA.
Yep.
At a minimum.
Yep.
It's not an NOI. At minimum, an RDA instead of this informal decision process.
Yeah.
Because I think what I'm sensing here is a lot of concern and discomfort with allowing this to go forward without a formal review.
Well, and no ability to put conditions.
Right. No ability to condition our approval, an authorization. If they want to do turf, they don't need us to say yes or no. There's already grass there. All they have to do to deal with it is replace it. But if they want to replace it with plastic, we can simply say, come back to us with a request for a determination of applicability as a minimum or a notice of intent.
I guess I have a question too, because this whole area of pervious, I guess, surface, I think was 490
It comes up to
Square feet.
490 square feet of additional impervious area, yes.
Okay, so let's say they made all of this impervious and it, just for the sake of argument, 1,000 square feet of impervious. Ethan, it would be helpful to kind of understand. I mean, I guess, are you then, would we treat it any differently? Like if this was a new, we pretty much say like
Yeah.
500 square feet is like if you stay below that, that's minor, right? But now
I mean,
I'm
I
just,
would,
mm,
yeah, I think if that was all as one patio, I would expect that to be approved. I mean, if that was all
if
of the
they,
yellow parts there outside the 50-foot buffer, I mean, that would be like an exempt project, so they could do that without even needing a permit. So that's kind of my basis for saying that would probably be approved.
how is this exempt? It's still within 100 feet of the wetland.
It's one of the exemptions, like the
Oh,
conversion of lawn to use as accessory to residential structures, pools, patios, decks, as long as it's 50 feet from the wetland and uses erosion controls.
but what if it's over 500 square feet?
It doesn't have a size minimum
This is the
unless,
DEP regulation, not our proposed.
What's that?
yeah.
The PP?
This is DEP's regulation, not our proposed bylaw. I don't know.
Yeah, for some reason I thought the definition of the minor, um, like accessory project was 500 square feet.
No, no, not in the DEP. Unless you presumed that it
Hang on.
would impact the wetland, um, that would be the only case where you would like deny that or have an issue with it. I mean, that could be something that I suggest if they want to take the yellow portion, keep it outside the 50 feet buffer, make it a patio. I mean, it would be impervious, but you would avoid the chemical and microplastics sort
Mhm.
of discussion.
But again,
Yeah.
oh, go on.
All right. I was just saying that's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah, I think if um, I'm surprised they didn't come to us with that before.
Projects have a way of evolving. When you start,
Yes, they do.
doing an
Yeah,
addition, yeah, let's put in a doorway here. We didn't have that originally, but really a good idea. Or maybe we should add another window. It's kind of how projects go sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah, he had said that he was considering that area, expanding it. We had sort of settled on, uh, you know, we'll decide on the order of conditions, and then down the line, if you change your mind or want to expand it, that can always be another approval. So it just came back pretty quickly. I think he kind of made up his mind or changed his mind and wanted to get this decision before they started work on the pool and patio.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm just have up the Wetlands Protection Act regulations. The conversion of lawn to use as accessory to residential structures such as decks, sheds, patios, pool, replacement of bulkhead, provided the activity, including material staging and stockpiling, is located more than 50 feet from the mean annual high water line within the riverfront bank or bordering vegetated wetland, whichever is further. Yeah, to your right.
So I think if this went to the DEP directly, they would, even if it was just inside the 50 feet, I think even with the turf, they would probably approve it. But that's more why we're here, is to make the
Right.
decision on the local level.
But they haven't come to us with an application to do that. They're just kind of informally asking us, and there's no requirement for the commission to like entertain additional asks once and I'm not saying this very well, but
Yeah. If you didn't approve it here, they can't do it unless they come in with a formal permit and that gets approved. So, right, you can approve it or deny it, and there's no next step other than having to apply for a permit of some sort. I would just be a little cautious if you do suggest an RDA, because while there is an option to put on conditions on the determination form, there's not exactly a clear way to enforce them. So I guess it would just depend on what conditions you might be wanting to add. Just
Well, if
being
we
aware of
simply
that.
say yes tonight, we have no ability to impose conditions, do we?
Right, yeah.
So we're no better or worse off. If I recall correctly, this is Al Theriault, right?
mhm.
And this is a pool more for his grandkids than himself, as I remember too.
That's a little area.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big,
Yeah, that's what he had said to me.
that's what he said to us at the site visit as well. You know, I don't really want to impose onerous conditions. On the other hand, I think what I hear is a fair amount of discomfort with artificial turf. Largely because of its breakdown products, not because of it itself. Am I accurate in my perceptions, folks?
Yes. With the potential to extend like far off of his property.
Yeah, that's the real challenge, is the degree to which breakdown products from this astroturf, artificial turf, sorry, don't want to tar it with the brush, end up into the wetland because essentially they go into the groundwater.
Ethan, do you have a completed I forget, there's the RDA and then the negative determination of applicability, like let me see if I can find the form.
I think it would be just simply an RDA, wouldn't it? Oh,
Yeah, but when you sort of approve it, the form, we've never actually seen a copy of the form that's been
oh,
completed, but there are different parts where it's you can say yes to one thing but no to another thing.
mhm.
So it's helpful to look at that, but
Yeah, I can pull up
yeah,
not a filled out form, but the blank one.
not what they're applying for, but when we render our
Yeah.
opinion, that would be helpful.
I'll share my screen in a
Yeah.
second. You might need to unshare yours.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Well, the plan has been useful to look at. Oh, see instructions.
Oh, it's Form 2.
So there's the positive determinations, which are denying the project, and then further down is the negative determinations, which are approving it.
I think, for example, I mean, this is just a nuance, but the top section, you could um, have something where you have a positive determination because you don't agree with the boundary delineation, but a negative determination overall in the project. Does that make sense?
Not in this case, just because we've already approved the wetlands delineation with the order of conditions.
Oh, no, I'm saying if
Or-
yeah, like pretend this was a new case,
Oh,
but
yeah.
if somebody just came to us.
Yes, you could do that.
Yeah.
Performance.
I think that's another thing that occurs to me is that if, if this had come up during the NOI, then there would have been the opportunity for public comment on it, which now there's not because it's not a public hearing, or there is, but it's not in the same way.
And we would be able to put conditions, whether it was
Right.
turf or a patio, like extended patio. I do think we'd be, so I mean, I would just probably explain from a procedural standpoint, this doesn't make sense for us to just, okay, sort of such a change that's so much larger than the original impacted area.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And I mean, just from a precedent standpoint, that's not great. And then they can come back and I would probably do an RDA, amended
think-
order.
I think because it's connected to the other proposed work and it hasn't been done yet, I think the amended order would make
Okay.
the most sense, just
Okay.
as you're talking about, like the patio being accessory to the residential structure. You wouldn't want to consider it as
Right.
two patios rather than just one large patio.
Right. But the commission also had, like, I guess this is where I'm thinking, if some members are really against this, thing, there's no requirement to entertain an amended order of conditions. Like they can't appeal an amended order.
Right. If you
A
deny the
request
amended,
if we deny the amendment.
yeah,
So
there's no
then,
appeal to that. You can just deny it and say no. You have to stick with your original plan.
I guess I'll ask the question, would we approve this if he was talking about just extending the pavers out to the fence line as opposed to artificial turf?
Yeah, I'd be less concerned about that.
Sorry?
Yeah, I would be less concerned about that. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think
Because
that's an
there's no
environmentally,
serious leaching issues associated with it.
right.
Me too, I agree.
Perhaps, Ethan, that's the message to convey back to Al.
Yep. Should I recommend like the amended order?
Sorry?
Should I
Yeah,
recommend the amended order request
ask him
rather than
to,
the RDA?
yeah, I mean,
well, if he comes back and
he
If
comes
he
back
still
and
wants
asks
to
for
do it.
AstroTurf again, he may get denied.
Yeah, he could. I'll suggest the patio, maybe the more preferred option, but we'd still
I think
Yeah.
that's
review that.
I think that's what I'm hearing as a way to deal with the questions we've been wrestling with tonight.
And then I believe we could always review that in sort of two steps. So the first one being considering if this warrants the amended order request, and then the second request would be formally making that request. So you could consider this discussion if you want as just because with the amended order, it requires a butter notifications. So usually you want to have that first discussion before they officially submit the information. That way, they're sort of just asking the commission, is this something worth entertaining as the amended order, if that makes sense. So you could, instead of having that be two separate meetings, since we've just discussed it today, you can sort of consider this meeting as that
That's
first
the initial
go.
discussion, and we move to a review of a proposed order at our next, at the next meeting.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want someone to propose an amendment that's nowhere near approvable. Just you'd kind of tell them at the start, like don't spend the time and money on this. We're not close, but I think from what we've seen here, we're somewhat close to an answer. So I think that would be reasonable to skip ahead to that point. Just assuming the applicant wants to do that.
Okay.
I do think you could send some of the research that Jennifer and Drew, I don't know if you can share and just share it with them. I'm sure Al has done his own research, but
I seem to recall that Al submitted some fairly positive stuff from the manufacturer.
Not exactly sure I trust the manufacturer saying, yeah, it's okay to buy. Not saying they're not true, just that doesn't, yeah.
Right, and
I'm not
even some of
disagreeing.
even some of the chemical components that they do acknowledge are in them are problematic. So, it doesn't require a whole lot of like suspicion to, be concerned.
Yep.
But I mean, I agree because again, the PFAS issue with sort of saying, oh, we had a negative test and
So I think our message back is think about it and think about sticking with pavers as an alternative.
Yeah.
well, and we need some sort of procedural mechanism to
Well, we can't really
approve.
act tonight on anything.
No. But I'm
There's
just
nothing in
saying that
front of
should
us.
be the message. It's too big a chain. Like,
Yeah, it's you're adding at least 75% of the original proposed
yeah,
modification. Once
it's not
again,
minor.
yeah.
I'll recommend if he wants an answer, it'll be through an amended order request, and then I'll suggest the pavers might be a little easier, but will still have to be reviewed.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then if he wants to do the turf, he'll have to be able to answer some of our questions at that meeting.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. I think we have beaten that one to death. Okay. Wetland bylaw discussion is our next matter.
So I can give an update on outreach. So Eleanor, Ethan, Bill, Renault, and I are scheduled to meet on Friday morning at 9 to go over some of Bill's outstanding comments and Ethan's too. And I think I saw that Eleanor sent a spreadsheet of kind of like questions and responses, right, to Ethan. So you have that? Is that
Yes,
right,
I
Ethan?
think I got it. I just haven't looked through it yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean that's some of that material we'll go through in the meeting. Not everything is filled in there, I don't think, but a lot of it is. A lot of the questions we have a response to, and then we'll kind of discuss in the meeting. We are on the schedule to present to Environmental Sustainability Committee on August 20th. Okay, I emailed planning board and ZBA about presentations. Haven't heard back, but Ethan suggested some dates to inquire about for the planning board. I think so the dates that Ethan suggested or said might be possible would be August 25th, September 8th, September 22nd. For me personally, my August is super busy, so it'd be easier for me to do September, but if somebody else wants to do the presentation, you know,
I think we're sort of running out of time. It probably makes sense to meet with Ethan and Bill and kind of come up with our final sort of um, edits to the bylaw, like come to resolution on some of the bigger issues like ponding area or whatever
right,
before we go back so that is little, so
sure.
Bill's in a happier place before we go back to planning board and
Mhm.
ZBA. So I would probably
Okay.
push that one off till the second meeting in September, maybe the first, but the rest of August is a mess for me and I cannot make the 20th. So if somebody else wanted to come to the ESC meeting for moral support, they can.
I will be traveling. I'll be gone 12th to 27th. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think in the past, I mean, I think the issue is we can't be deliberating, so I don't think there's strictly speaking a limit on how many people can go, but there can't be kind of a lot of back and forth.
Right.
Okay. Although at least it is in public anyway. But okay. So I think as long as I mean, we don't know the date yet for the warrant, the deadline for the town meeting warrant. The town meeting's in November, and I assume the deadline's in October. So the 22nd is kind of late to be, I'm not sure we could really get
Yeah.
feedback, respond to feedback, at that point. So maybe September 8th would be the best option for planning board if they
Yeah.
have room for us there. Um, if not, maybe we could just point them toward one of the presentations that's already happened. Let's see. Okay, I did reach out, and then there's ZBA, which I can reach out to again. I reached out to WCAT later and FOLQ. And FOLQ, I think they have a September meeting. I asked if that's a possibility or if there's some other format, maybe they would just want to receive information, So okay, let's see what else. Oh, so Ethan and I'm forgetting her name, Stephanie worked on a flyer.
Yeah, Jen McDonald
Jen.
had put together a flyer.
Mm-hmm.
I can pull that up if you'd like. My thought was sort of, I know Drew suggested passing them out, but I think definitely decide on what to do with that after our meeting this Friday with Bill, just so we're more solid on the information we're passing out.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Do you mean specifically like if the conclusion from the meeting is that we make a big change to the ponding area that it comes off the flyer? Is that what you mean?
Just making sure what the bylaw moving forward is the same as what's on the document. So.
All right.
Even if it's just highlighting one section versus another, more so just since it's only a few days out, I wouldn't mind waiting a bit on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much it right here sort of summarizes the presentation sort of, and then it's just a one-page, two-sided document. And then I think the goal was to keep it informative, not really convincing people to support it, especially with it being associated with the town, just sharing information and staying impartial.
Creating awareness, I think that's what you want, right?
Well,
Yep.
except that contradicts sort of Tom Mullen's advice to us almost two years ago. Was that February? Maybe it's not 2 years, February 2025. And he said, go out and sell it. You know, I don't think we want to be impartial.
I just mean as far as this document
Ah,
goes, yeah. Let's see. Because
Yeah,
anything that the town shares as far as information, they're required to provide just unbiased information, especially when something goes to town meeting,
I
as
don't
far as like
know.
town
I
departments
no,
and town documents.
I think these are all independent boards, and we've seen other boards take matters to town meeting that weren't necessarily promoted in an unbiased way. Um,
right. And I think part of town meeting is certain boards recommend favorable action.
Well, we would certainly be taking this to town meeting with a recommendation for passage.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love the look of it. It just graphically, it's great. I think the thing that's missing that's really helpful is that map. Um,
Is there room here to put that in?
You'd have to move something around.
you'd have to shrink the image.
Yep.
At top.
Jennifer,
And then I'd have to check with Jen as well, just to see if that's something we could include if you wanted to.
Why don't you check with her
Why?
on that?
But why wouldn't we be able to include it if we have permission to use it and it's already posted on the
It's a matter of fitting.
town
Huh?
website?
I would just have to check with her
Oh,
if she
okay.
would know, just to
Oh,
confirm.
okay.
I'm not saying we wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
Not a question of authorization, it's a question of fitting it in the document in a way that.
Document, okay.
Yeah, communication side and town information side. Yeah.
Jennifer,
Is this
can I-
oh,
sorry. No, go ahead, Eleanor.
no, is this like a town template or something like that? I'm just curious. Or
I think it's
think so.
similar to town templates. It
Okay.
was just because Jen had made it sort of, you can post it on the website. It mentions the town of Wakefield here.
Mhm.
Like anything the town produces as far as like town meeting information, that is what remains impartial. Of course, whoever's applying for it or putting up the vote can sway the opinions, but with it being made by Jen as part of the town, that's
I
more what I was
see.
referring. Yeah.
But you could include the map and indicate that Wakefield is one of the few towns in the northeastern part of Massachusetts that does not have a wetland bylaw.
Yeah, that's a
That is
fact.
certainly an objective fact.
Yep, that would probably be fine. I just can't commit to
Yeah.
that myself.
Mhm.
And I think we'll see where things go with the ponding area, but we may have to look again after meeting with Bill at this part about the buffer zone, because the way it's written currently does make it sound like it would surround everything, including a ponding area. So we just want to make sure that's right.
Jennifer, can I
After
just ask
Friday.
you about, you mentioned you reached out to WCAT. Were they going
Yeah.
to do like a panel thing or?
I just sent them a message. I just sent them a message today, just saying, let's see. Let me see if I sent it to myself. Let's see. Would it be possible for a member of the commission to conduct a presentation on the bylaw proposal for the WCAT audience? Happy to answer questions or discuss details.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're looking at adding the map and a little bit of discussion to point out why the map's there into this.
Hmm.
Additionally, Jennifer is working to get a presentation on WCAT, at least to discuss the bylaw as a public information session. Anything further in terms of outreach?
I mean,
I presume we're going to have this at Town Day.
yeah. I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I,
Which is a-
Judy, do you
I
know
just-
what's in? Go on.
Sorry, I was saying I sent the email yesterday about Town Day, so
Yeah,
if you do want a table, I'll just have to confirm
I think it would
that.
make sense.
Yep.
We've had one in the past and we've managed to find enough people to sit there.
Yep. And your posters were a big hit last year, Ethan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that worked well, actually. We got a lot of attention and I think that's a good thing. I think raising awareness of environmental conservation needs and significance is important here. So. Anything further? So I guess, Ethan, the answer is yes, we'd like to have a table at Town Day. And we'll arrange at, one of the next couple of meetings, we'll arrange who will be there. I'll make it a point to, that's the Saturday, the 20-something of September.
26th.
26th, okay. I'll put it in my calendar now.
Okay.
I believe that was 1 p.m. it started.
Okay. And Ethan, well, I mean, Aaron offered to help sort of, Aaron offered to help facilitate scheduling with the planning board. I know I responded to that email, but I think I said I wasn't sure. I'd look at my calendar about dates, but would you be able to help get that on their agenda?
Yep, I'll just talk
perhaps
with the
Aaron?
town. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, lately I think their agendas just come down to if they've had enough items to hold the meeting, but
Uh-huh.
with a bit of notice. You said September 8th was working, or
Yeah, I mean, I
Sorry.
think September 8th is preferable. I think they just maybe would need to realize that if we were on September 22nd, we may not be able to really incorporate feedback very well. So, the 8th is better.
I'll ask about the 8th. That should be fine, but confirm with Marissa.
Yeah. I mean, if it's the 22nd, it's, yeah, not ideal. But, we can also go back and watch the meeting to see the last time they discussed it, to see what points they brought up.
I know the last time I heard that they'd mentioned like vernal pools, similar questions to what we had talked about, like how do you know there's a vernal pool in your backyard? And I think ponding area would have similar questions, just more from like, the average homeowner's perspective, like how do you know this needs a permit, or how do you know
Well,
the extent? Yeah.
thankfully, there aren't too many vernal pools just in the middle of people's lawns. But I think that's, going back to them and
Maybe more ponding areas, though.
yes, educating them about that.
Yeah, so I'll ask about adding the map to this flyer. I can get back to you all on
Thank
that.
you.
That'd be fantastic.
So, Eleanor and I have been the bylaw kind of subcommittee, and if we have this meeting scheduled for Friday morning with Ethan and Bill and Eleanor and I, and so are we kind of empowered to draft changes or make decisions before we meet again, which then kind of pushes our You know what I mean? Before the commission meets again?
Well, what the procedural approach is, Jennifer, to tell you the truth.
I mean, I think the biggest thing I think that's on the table, in terms of what has the most, maybe we've gotten the most feedback on and has the most potential to perhaps change, I would think, would be, ponding areas. Do we, do we keep that as a type of wetland? Do we put a threshold on it? Do we even get rid of it? Because we have isolated wetlands of 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's something we can look at is what are you missing with the isolated wetlands that you want to protect with the ponding? And then I guess keeping it as simple as you can, as long as it protects those interests, that might kind of make it a little easier to move forward.
I would suggest that we be very careful. The way I read this flyer, this brochure is, those ponding areas would also end up with a 25-foot no disturb zone.
No,
And I
they
didn't
don't.
think that was your intention, but
No.
the way they're listed as a resource area, I think you need to deal with that at a minimum to clarify that in the brochure somehow.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't clear to me reading this. I recalled that we had specifically said no, we weren't going to put a buffer on them, but
We're not. There's not in the bylaw, there's not a buffer on
right.
them.
So
But
I think we need to
Oh,
revise
fix
this
this.
to
Yeah.
fix that particular matter, because the way I read it, at least, and maybe I'm just misreading, but unfortunately, a lot of people are going to misread. Matter of course. I'm a somewhat educated consumer on this one.
Yeah. I I do think the ponding area is a little bit confusing because if you and I pasted this in my document. I think I shared it with the rest of the group. If
The spreadsheet, Eleanor?
Yeah, it's just a Word document with
Yeah.
kind of the comments and responses. But I pulled
Mhm.
in, the preamble for the isolated wetland, and it's isolated land subject to flooding is an isolated depression or a closed basin which serves as a ponding area for runoff or high groundwater, which has risen above the ground surface. Such areas are locally significant to flood control and storm damage prevention. In addition, where such areas are underlain by pervious material, they are likely to be significant to public or private drinking water supply and to groundwater supply. Where such areas are underlain by pervious material covered by a mat of organic peat and muck, they are also likely to be significant to the prevention of pollution. Finally, where such areas are,
Vernal
our vernal
pool.
pool habitat, they are significant to the protection of wildlife. So in that one, I guess, paragraph of the WPA, it kind of captures all three things. And so I guess my thinking is,
This is state definition already in existence.
yes, this is states that we want to make it consistent. Like I don't know, sorry, my kid, Mayday, Mayday. Um, yes, like follow these definitions, and then we're just changing the performance standards and, defining a smaller area, like because right now the it's a quarter acre foot of water would be, you know, the only isolated wetlands that are subject to protection, which are basically ponds. Like,
Yeah, that's 10,000 cubic feet,
yeah,
más o menos.
yeah. Um, but they're yeah, so they're I think we can combine it and make it smaller. We do have a small threshold for vernal pool, so that should capture. Oops, we have kittens
That should
creating
capture
mayhem.
what
Yeah,
we want to capture. You have
yeah.
kittens?
We adopted kittens, and they keep trying to
They want to take over
take
your
over
camera.
my. Yeah,
Oh, of course. They
uh,
know they're cute.
yeah. Anyway,
Can I
um,
ask about, it says it only has to hold water at least once a year?
for the vernal pool,
No, for the ponding area.
is this in the bylaw or the
Yes, in the
definition?
bylaw, in the bylaw.
Yeah.
So what if a neighbor said, well, I saw it hold water 3 months ago? I mean, holding water once seems to be a little extreme, once per year.
Isn't that what a vernal pool is?
It is. It's a spring
But once per
event.
year? It doesn't say at least once. Is that one day?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I think the ponding area is problematic, and that's going to be a sticking point with people.
hmm hmm
And I think there's enough coverage, like you just said, in the other definitions that will sufficiently capture what you're looking for.
The other thing that, and I think everybody was on the email with Aaron, was that, I mean, I guess my personal feeling about the ponding area is that not that we want to make people jump through tons of hoops and, pay like an NOI fee, but we wanted to kind of be on their mind that they should be paying attention to that. And so maybe it could even be something simpler, like just an attestation. I'm aware that there's this kind of area that holds water, because right now the burden is entirely on the neighbor, where if the neighbor gets flooded, they have all the burden of documenting evidence, going to court, maybe retaining an attorney, and even just an attestation that by like an engineer or contractor, the homeowner saying, I know there's this water here, and I know that Wakefield's local bylaw says we can't put it onto the neighbor's property. Even that would be sort of better than nothing through like, if there's a process for that, like the administrative review process or, um,
I,
like, is there a less burdensome process we could propose for ponding areas?
I I mean, maybe we could get at that by just simply saying you have to kind of keep all the water on your property, right? You have to demonstrate whatever change you're going to make within. eh, But I feel like that's already kind of a requirement today under the Wetlands Protection Act, right? If people are going to, even if it's in the buffer zone, if they're doing regrading and things, I think they have to demonstrate that they're not just going to displace a bunch of water on to the next door neighbor, right? Or is I could be mistaken,
Yeah, larger grading would.
but
Yeah.
small grading,
Like, probably not. I mean, it's kind of like the one we looked at today with the ADU. So
hmm
we're just asking, is this going to send water further
hmm
than it was before? So yeah, most sites, especially larger ones, you'd look into that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely lived in two properties where the next door neighbor, routed their storm drain or their
Right.
contractors buried it under their yard and it discharges into your yard and you don't realize till it's pooling next to your garage or your basement and getting in, and it is a drag. Um, um,
But that's a town ordinance that covers that. It says you can't put water on your neighbor's property.
is that in Wakefield?
I don't know about Wakefield, but generally it's a town ordinance that, I mean, I had the same problem, very similar problem,
hmm
especially when they were throwing it all on my driveway and it was the middle of winter and everything froze.
hmm
So I've been down that road in the particular town that I lived in. I don't know if that's true for Wakefield.
Do you know, Ethan?
I don't know if there's, I don't know the specific thing, but I bet there would be some regulation somewhere that prohibits that.
Could you
Mhm.
check before you meet with folks later this week?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Um, that would address that. I mean, the WPA also has a section in 10.04 called environmentally sensitive site design. And they talk about design that incorporates low impact development techniques to prevent generation of stormwater and non-point source pollution by reducing impervious surfaces, disconnecting stormwater sheet flow paths, and treating stormwater at its source, maximizing open space, minimizing disturbance, protecting natural features.
We don't want to replicate all of that in here.
No, but I'm saying there's stuff there. I mean, we can kind of maybe get at that through the procedure, like through the regulations and just say, we'd like the plans to demonstrate these attributes as described in the Wetlands Protection Act. Something like that,
Fair enough.
you know? So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, I think we all agree that needs tightening up. But I think if anybody has it in them to give the bylaw one more read and just see if we've missed something, that would probably be helpful because I think we get reviewers fatigue, like looking.
I'll spend some time on it. Tomorrow is Wednesday, either tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah, and I think we will meet again before the first presentation or the presentation to ESC and before planning board. So, I mean, I think we'll have, that may be a meeting where we need to have, I mean, it sounds like we want to have make some decisions before going into the final set of presentations, but then that may put our decisions at odds with what's on the website. Or we can also try to turn around a draft, between Bill's meeting and the 18th.
Well, there's, yeah, no requirement that says we're limited to the number of drafts we put out, you know, because it's true, we're definitely working on something we've got feedback on. Um, I think the other parts we just need to come to terms with, that sweet spot of not making it too long, like not replicating the entire Wetlands Protection Act, but also putting enough in there that laymen understand, like even a planning board member could pick it up and understand what it is that we regulate. If we're picking and choosing, oh, don't use this word because it's in the WPA, like I think if our definition section is a little bit long, I'm okay with that. Just because most lay people are probably going to choose to read, pick up a 10-page document like our bylaw versus go to the regs directly.
Probably, yes. So next steps are you're meeting with Bill this week.
Friday, yep.
You will be making edits as a result of that meeting, providing those back to the next meeting of the commission. I'll follow up with if you guys can have them back before I leave on the 12th, I'll any amendments, I'll comment back to you about them if I have any. If you don't have the time, then
Okay.
just keep going without me. Because we're on a bit of a tight schedule, so. Fair enough.
Yep.
Yep.
Anything else we need to discuss on that tonight? Okay.
It's agent update.
I think that's the last item on the agenda. Yes.
I had gone to 154, 158 Salem Street last week for the pre-construction meeting. So that was one where it's a wooded area within the riverfront and the wetland buffer that they were building, I believe, about a dozen units. And there was a larger development there. We had issued the order of conditions last year for. So I made the pre-construction visit, walked the site, made sure all the erosion controls were in place, and then I believe they're starting work very soon to clear the trees and then just the rest of the work on the site.
I drove by today and yeah, they lopped off a whole bunch of trees. Gone, and not small ones. So I was sad to see that, but there's definitely earth moving vehicles on site and it looks large.
Yeah, this had been in front of us for the approval last year, as well as a couple other boards. So they got all the approvals and then they're just ready to do the work. I made the visit and I think they said they were starting very soon. Sounds like they've started with the trees. So they'll be getting rid of the trees, clearing the site, cleaning it up, leveling it out a bit, and just getting to work on the roads and everything. So if they do all the ground disturbance by the winter, they should be able to just work through the winter. So utilities and grading, even like foundations of buildings. I think they're looking to get that all installed by the winter.
Great. Ethan, in terms of just a suggestion for cross-department collaboration, and maybe we can take it up as a different agenda item, or you can take it back to Aaron. But with that project in particular, I think we would have, conservation would love to be involved in terms of landscaping decisions, when it comes to altering, uh, you know, um, cutting down a ton of trees and converting it to a development, at least can we put in more native trees, that type of thing, instead of coming to, I guess by the time the project comes to us, it's too late to provide any input on that piece. We're sort of relegated to just the 25-foot buffer, even though the entire, 100 feet was altered.
Yeah, I think in this case, they said, I think they had said we should have mentioned it sooner. So I think next time we have a larger site, something we mentioned from the start. That way, by the time we get to the approval, we have a more fleshed out landscaping plan.
Yeah.
Because even though the wetland is what gives us jurisdiction,
Mhm.
when you provide a project as a site, it's sort of the whole site that we're reviewing.
Right. Well, it has to go
when
through
it's all connected. Yeah.
planning and ZBA. So I think the landscaping was kind of decided pretty early. Like, I don't think by the time it came to us, there was any opportunity. So that's a valid point. I just
Yeah.
don't know like how we can sort of insert ourselves or I don't know, get a preview before it's all kind of, it's in the coffin
Yeah.
and we can't change
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Usually, once the ZBA receives the application, it gets sent to other departments to provide comment letters. So that would be a good time for
Mhm.
me, or usually Elaine does those. So I'll talk with her and suggest just adding more details on what we would like to see for the landscaping, because usually that point is the very first step in the process. So
Oh,
that'll
I
be
was,
a good way to try to do that. Yeah.
oh, fantastic. I wasn't aware that happened. So good to
Yeah,
know.
they usually send it just asking, is this jurisdictional to you? Yes or no. But we can always add comments if there's any.
Okay,
So that's
great.
a good suggestion.
No, there have been a few projects like that where oh, I wish we could have, you know, had a seat at the table early on.
Yeah. Or and
At
that's
least
still assuming
steer them in a
that's
direction.
still assuming they're willing to do it.
Yeah,
But that was worth mentioning.
yeah.
We did talk about those invasives at the pit at the last meeting. I had talked with Dennis about this, and that's something that's usually just allowed at the pit, dumping invasives. It doesn't really spread too much. That's not something they're very concerned with, just with the size and the compaction, and it all just gets a bit suffocated within the pit area there once it gets put in the right place and processed. But it's just considered yard waste, just like any other yard waste is. It's just not the
So essentially, the hope is that they're going to compost and not take root.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the best conditions for them to really grow, even being invasive. So it just becomes part of the
He's right.
compost.
Mm, it,
He said they don't really see that spreading at all, if at all in the pit. So
did they use the fill from the pit? For some reason, I had the impression they used the fill from the pit along Lake
um,
Quantapowhat, where they did the
Town uses the compost that they make, yes. I mean, it is compost.
Yep.
It's more than fill. I mean, it's actually pretty decent compost.
But yeah, do we know how all the knotweed got into that area that was supposed to be restored?
I don't know exactly where they went or where they get fill from. He mentioned sometimes if there's a lot in the pit, they'll kind of like dispose of it elsewhere. Like they'll pay to truck it off when the pit starts to get really full
Oh.
with that. So it
I
doesn't
think the
sound like
problem,
they're
Eleanor,
using
is
it.
we're conflating two matters.
Yeah.
One
Okay.
is compost. Compost is generally the compost activity at the pit is probably good enough to kill the seeds and kill the plants.
Mm,
However, fill that comes in frequently will end up with fragments of various invasives, including knotweed. And I think that's what ended up happening over on Lake Q, on that path where it comes down along Lake Q.
okay.
That's a different matter. But
They were using fill and not
that was
compost.
fill. That was not compost.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I think.
there was a
Oh, go ahead.
contractor who decided to use the cheapest fill he could get.
Okay. Yeah, if the stalks are dried and crispy, then they can't reproduce.
Mm-hmm. And when they get cooked, if they get cooked to 140 to 150 degrees in a hot compost, which they should be in these in the town's composting activities, I would think that would also kill it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I assume when they use compost, they're not just taking it from the newest stuff that was brought in. It was
Right.
taken
Well, they
from the
also
other
don't they
stuff.
screen it, Ethan?
I see. Yeah, I
Don't have
assume before they
a
just take.
rotating screen that they use on the compost.
Oh, I'm not sure that the details of
I don't
that,
know.
but
I don't generally go over and look at that kind of stuff at the pit. So
Well, for compost, you're supposed to be turning it all the time.
yeah, they do that. It's usually turned by bucket loaders, though, not by big compost row turners. Anyway,
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. And
anything else, Ethan?
no, I just had town day, but we had already got that all squared away.
Yep, that's on the agenda for it's on my calendar already.
Yep.
Just a comment about Town Day. We got the email today about Reedy Meadow that had all of the information, and Town Day might be a good day to share, if we want to, more information, and including that history that the person sent about Town Day. If there's a way to, have like a handout, not even one to hand out, but just for, ourselves, or hey, to put up, and maybe, I don't know if we have like any good photos or.
It might be worth having that kind of materials available for Jennifer. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah, I think
I'm
people
not
would
sure
be
how much
interested
effort
in
we
it.
want to put together for another presentation,
Yeah,
but if I mean that pitch on Reedy Meadow was actually a good piece of work. So.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important thing to highlight to people that it's a rather massive wetland complex that needs some attention and protection.
Was Reedy Meadow brought up as the bike trail talk?
As what, Judy?
About the bike trail? Was it a flyer about that?
I think it was a letter from the public, just saying that people
Yeah.
need to know more about it. There's a lot of information about it that people don't realize. There was information in it that I wasn't aware of about Reedy Meadow that I thought was very interesting.
History.
I assume yeah, history. I assume it's coming up because of the talk about what's going to go in over there.
Yeah, there's talk of data centers and
Yeah.
bike trail. I think it's been referred to as the industrial area in Wakefield. I, you know,
Okay. Well, I think, yeah, this was Julie Scott sent it over. I'd suggest it looks like whoever managed the mailbox today shipped it to all of us, so I think it's worth a read, and we should pay attention.
maybe we want to put it on the agenda. I don't know if we can reach out to her and see if this is something we can include as like a news blast or just it's such a vital part of Wakefield's natural landscape.
It is.
Yeah, I liked your suggestion about having information like this at Town Day. I think as we get closer, it can definitely help to put together some information as
Shrink
well as
this
the maps
down
that we have.
and yeah, shrink it down into something a little bit less
Yeah,
than
something
state.
about Reedy Meadow, Town Forest, pointing out a couple of things in town.
Yeah.
Environmentally significant areas of the town that need to be protected better.
Yep.
I think
Ooh,
that's a
I
good
like
idea.
that.
Yeah. Or that warrant continued and more aggressive protection. Let's call it that way.
Stewardship.
Stewardship. Thank you, Eleanor. Okay.
Okay.
It is nearly 9:30. Do we have anything further?
Not for me.
I think we could use an emotion to adjourn then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, and I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jennifer. All in favor? Eleanor,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
and I vote yes. We are adjourned. I won't see you on the 18th, but Eleanor will be chairing. I will see you in September.
See you in
Have a
September.
great trip. Have a wonderful
Yeah.
trip.
Hope to. Thank you. Good night.
Good night,
Night
everyone.
all.